Hello everyone and welcome for a new video about level design. In this episode, we're gonna see how to model a 3D barrel with a medium level of detail. Don't forget that if you want to get a quick reminder of what the level of detail or LOD is, you can check out this video I made previously in the series about this concept. Okay, so for this model, I'm going to go for the most iconic barrel shape one can imagine. We're gonna have some wooden planks circled with metal rings. As always, when starting off a new model, it's a good idea to take some reference pictures or drawings to clearly get the proportions and the key elements that make up the core identity of your object. Okay, time to jump into Blender, and to start off, we'll remove the startup cube and instead create a cylinder. I don't need so much detail in the curvature, so I'll reduce the number of vertices from 32 to 16. Then I'll scale my barrel slightly to give it its base shape. However, for now, I don't want to scale it along the vertical Z-axis. I just want to change how wide it is on the X and Y axis. To do this, I can press S to enter scale mode, and then Shift plus Z to constrain the edit to only the non-Z axis, i.e. X and Y, like this. The next step is to enter edit mode, and add some loop cuts on the side to create the rounded shape for our planks. We can do this by pressing Ctrl plus R and then scrolling up or down to increase or reduce the number of cuts. Here I will make 3 that are evenly spaced. Now I can select the top and bottom faces and bring them inwards. However, just like before, I only want to scale them along the X and Y axis, so I will press Shift plus Z and then scale them. I'll then do the same for the first and last loop cuts. So I'll switch to the edge selection mode by pressing 2, you can also see your current selection mode over here, and use Alt plus click to select this ring of edges. I can then use Shift plus Alt plus click to also select the second ring at the bottom. And finally, I'll use S and Shift plus Z to scale these in the horizontal plane. Okay, I now have my basic barrel shape. Time to add the metal bands. The idea here will be to select our top and bottom loop cuts and bevel them using Ctrl plus B to create 2 bends in their place like this. Then to extrude this geometry properly out of the surface, we will press Alt plus E and use the Extrude Along Normals tool that we saw in our previous 3D modeling episode about the crate. This instantly creates nice metal bands on our barrel. At the top we can do a little inset of the face and extrude it down to better highlight the border of the planks. And we can also add a metal band with a loop cut, then select all the faces and extrude them along the normals to create some extra volume. Now, the problem with our current design is that the wooden parts don't really look like planks. We should add some in-between dents to really separate each plank from the others. So first, let's do the same as with the crate and apply some mirror modifiers with the Auto Mirror plugin to instantly copy our modifications to the rest of the object. Now, in this editable corner, I will select some edges along this vertical line and bevel them. The trick, however, is to increase our bevel segments to 2 so that the initial edge remains in the middle. This way we can reselect it and then bring it towards the center to create our dent. To get the right scale origin, we need to make sure that we switch to cursor mode in this little menu here. And now if we scale along the X and Y axis, we see that we have a nice delimitation between our 2 planks. For the other dents, since they are on the mirror planes, we first have to apply our mirror modifiers and then reapply the same bevel then scale technique at regular intervals. In the end, we get a really cool visual with curved wooden planks and the metal bands circling them. For the top face, we can actually do the same and add some additional geometry to show the planks. First, I'll use the knife tool, which I can enable with K, and then I'll add the subdivisions for my planks. Now I'll select those 2 edge lines, bevel them with a step of 2, and bring down the lines in the middle. And this way I magically see my planks appear on the top face of the barrel. And here we are! We've now got a really basic barrel with a medium LOD that we could use in any video game project. But just as a side note, this barrel is actually a good opportunity to discuss pivot points. Because for now, as you can see, my anchor point for this object is at its center, at the origin of the scene. Sometimes when you're working on this type of asset, it can be interesting to think ahead and consider how it is used most frequently in a game scene. Will it be hanging from a rope, like a lantern, or stuck to a wall, like a decorative shield, or just slapped on the ground? Here it would probably be the third option, and in this case it can be more intuitive for the level builder who will use your asset to replace the placeholders to have the object have its origin point at the bottom. This way, if you place it at a height of 0, you don't have half of it in the ground. This could of course be corrected afterwards in the majority of game creation tools by using additional anchors and nested hierarchies. But usually it's best to polish up your model on your side and send something clean and easy to use down the rest of the pipeline. So to fix this pivot point, we will first open our N panel to check out the dimension of a barrel on the Z-axis and copy this value. Then in edit mode, we will press A to select the whole thing and translate everything upwards. Don't worry about how much you move it, we are going to change this in a second. In the last edit panel, here, we are going to pass back our Z dimension value from before, the size of our barrel along the Z axis, and then divide it by 2. This way you see that the bottom of the barrel is perfectly aligned to the ground floor, and our asset is now ready for the game engine. So there you go, you now have a quick example of how to model a basic wooden barrel for a video game with a medium level of detail. I hope you enjoyed this quick 3D modeling tutorial about level design and that you learned a few interesting tricks. If you did, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And of course, don't hesitate to leave a comment with your own ideas for future level design tutorials. As always, thanks a lot for watching and take care.